Hi friends, I'm Maria Saracino and I'm a figurative polymer clay artist. In this little 15-minute video, I want to share with you a new technique I call forensic facial construction. The first step in sculpting a realistic face in polymer clay is to create the armature and then map the face so you have a well-proportioned structure to work on. The better the inner structure, the easier it is to sculpt a realistic face. This whole process can take more than an hour, and students often struggle with this step. I've come up with a way to simplify the process of creating the base by first creating a mold of a skull that you can build on. Based on the process of forensic facial reconstruction, you will be able to build and sculpt on a soft structure, resolving any issues with mapping, proportion, eye placement, and more. This will help you do a correct armature as well as map the face correctly, save you a lot of time, and give you a more realistic finish. All my sculpting lessons still apply, but this is just going to be an easier way to get started, and hope you enjoy. Okay, so you can see here I'm conditioning some clay, and this is just Super Sculpey Beige, just the regular one. But I often use leftover clay or dirty clay. I call it dirty clay when it's been contaminated, or you could even use like a bunch of different colors. It doesn't matter. I put them through my food processor. If the clay is really hard, add a few drops of baby oil or even a little bit of smudge of Vaseline, and that'll soften the clay. So there are a couple of different mold materials that you can find. This one here, I used a rubber silicone mold. The only thing is that this is flexible. So this is often used to pour resin or candles or chocolates. So that once the material hardens, then it's really easy to flex the mold and pull it out. But I don't want to do that with these because I want the clay, I don't want to distort the clay. I want the clay to stay firm. So rubber silicone really doesn't work for this. There used to be a product by Sculpey called Mold Maker, but this has been discontinued, but it will be reintroduced in a year or two, so keep a lookout for that. This was one of my favorite products to do this, but I found that you can do the same thing just using old clay. So I'm just using some new Sculpey, but like I said, if you have a box of dirty clay that you've been trying to figure out what to do with it, put it through your food processor, pulse it with a little bit of baby oil or Vaseline and soften it. And once it's nice and soft, like this, you're going to roll it and kind of just push it down and square it. So you have kind of a square shape here. Parchment here. So when I first started sculpting, I tried sculpting on top of a skull. So this is basically what we're making. We're making a mold of a skull, but I just want to let you know the process for me to come up with this idea. So this is one of those plastic Halloween mold skeletons, and right now at this time of the year they're all over the dollar store, the craft store. You can find them everywhere. The only problem with this is when you put clay on top of this and you put it in the oven, depending on what the formula was to make this kind of PVC plastic, it could either melt underneath the clay and ruin your piece, or it can expand and again it will crack your piece and ruin it. So never put this in the oven. It's not going to be a good result. You can also use resin. So there are some resin skulls that you can find, but the only thing is that this releases a very toxic odor in the house. The fumes are not good for you. I do not suggest sculpting on top of this. So we're going to make our own molds using a plastic skull. So this is perfect. So we know where the eyes are, where the bridge of the nose, we even have the teeth in the mouth in place. So this is perfect for sculpting on top of, just too bad that it's PVC plastic. So we're going to do a clay version of this that is going to be our armature and is going to be the mapping that we need to sculpt a realistic face. So you can push this into the clay as is, okay? But I find that with this plastic, it might cave in. So what I do is I cut off the back of the head, just going to reposition this so that you can see it better. I cut off the back of the head so that I can put my plastic skull in, and I'm going to just push down with both hands. And just keep on pushing and put my fingers in and really press down into the clay. So you want to go in almost as deep as you can without punching through on the other side. I'm just putting lots of pressure. Once I have it the way I want, I'm going to gently pull out the form, the plastic skull, and here's my mold for my skull armature. You're going to bake it at 275 degrees for about 20 minutes. You want it to be nice and hard, and try not to distort it, because when you press in your clay to make your mold, you want it to come out as clean as possible. So this is the process. So once it's baked, you end up with something like this. Now this one I went a little bit deeper, and I've marked it what it is. I also found one of these little metal skulls, and I created this nice little smaller version. You can go any size you want. I've even got this little tiny one. So this one here ends up making a sculpture that's about 18 to 20 inches. This one here is about 16 inches. And this one here, I end up making a 10 to 12 inch figure from this size. But you can even go bigger if you want. But I find that these are my favorite sizes to work with, especially these first two. I don't usually go this small, but once you have this all done, then it's really easy to create the armature for your sculpt. So we'll do that next. So you've baked it, it's cooled down, it's nice and cold, and now you're ready to start creating your facial armature. So you're going to condition a piece of clay, nice and soft. You're going to roll it so that it's nice and smooth. You don't want any seams. You don't want any seams or dirt or anything. You want a nice smooth finish. So you're just going to roll it until it's nice and smooth. And then you're going to just gently dust the inside of your mold with a little translucent powder, baby powder, cornstarch, anything that you like. You just want a nice clean release. And then you're going to take your clay and you're going to push it into the mold. You're going to put some nice pressure and really push the clay in. You want it to be about 1/4 of an inch thick, not more than 1/2 inch thick. And it's okay that it's spilling out, because that's going to wrap around to form the back of the head. Now you still need the foil armature, so I've taken a piece of foil that's about 1/2 foot, 6 inches, and I'm going to scrunch it into a ball. Now if we were making a foil armature for a skull, we'd have to shape it to take on kind of this shape of the skull. But we don't need to do that with this. We just need to create a nice round ball, and you're going to position it inside, put a little bit of pressure, and then you're going to start wrapping the clay around it. Then a nice gentle wiggle back and forth, and you pull out your skull. A little bit of cleanup, any little rough edges. Now you know exactly where the eyes go. I'm going to just take my tool. You know exactly where the eyes go. You know where the nose is positioned. You know where the bridge of the nose is. You know where the mouth should open, where the cheekbones are. Everything is in place. Super, super easy. That took just a few minutes to create, and it's very easy to set your eyes in. So I'm just using 12 millimeter porcelain beads, and I'm going to place them in position where the eye sockets are. And I'm going to, with my thumbs, I'm going to push them both in at the same time so that they're buried inside the skull, and they should be flat with the forehead and cheekbone. So if I go sideways, they're pretty well flush with those. So I always look at it from different angles to make sure they're set in at the right place. So there you have it. Now you have the base to start your sculpt on. So you can bake this as it is and then sculpt on top of it, but I prefer to sculpt on top of the raw clay because it gives me a chance to modify. But the thing that we have to remember is that all of us, doesn't matter how different we look, underneath all of our skin and the muscles of our face, we all have this same skull armature. So this is, especially if you're interested in doing realistic sculpts, this is a great way to get started. And like I mentioned before, if you wanted to do an open mouth where you want the teeth showing, when you go to push the clay in the mold, put a little bit of white clay where the teeth are so that when you pull it out, the white teeth will already be shaped. So there we go. And I'm going to sculpt ahead in fast motion. So if you guys want to watch, you can see how I use this to create a realistic face. So keep watching. Hope you've enjoyed this little how-to video, and if you're interested in more of my courses, please visit my website at saracenoartstudio.com, or you can see some of my work at saracenocollection.com. In the meantime, if you're interested in any of the sculpting study series, they're available exclusively at aforartistic.com. Thank you for watching and happy sculpting.